Hello everyone, can you hear me? Please confirm in chat that you can hear me. And we are taking on one of my friends, and his username, as you can see, is iamaki. And we're going to be getting the white pieces. It looks like, just for a change, I want to start with the move pawn to e4. Usually I play pawn to d4, but today I've decided that I'm going to go for pawn e4. And already I have to say, Akhilesh has surprised me because I've never seen him play the Sicilian defense. Um, Let me get my tea sorted here. And yeah, it's already surprised me with the Sicilian defense. Uh, so so let's start with knight f3 and see what happens. Does he know the open Sicilian? I thought about briefly considered going knight c3 for the closed Sicilian, but decided the better of it in the end. Decided to go for the open Sicilian. Black usually plays e6. E6 is known as the Khan variation, if I'm not wrong. And against the Khan, I just like to go d4. So one funny thing is, Akhilesh has a brother, and he has who's a pretty strong player. So I don't know if he's being involved in this. D5, frankly, I've not seen. Usually the idea is to take on d4. D5 immediately challenges my pawn in the center on e4, so I need to think here. The reason being, if I just go e5, it might look tempting, but after black takes on d4, after knight takes, with a pawn on e5, is it really a good position is what I should calculate. But it does help for further f4 advances. I think that's thematic. Let's just go for this and see what happens. I think the most principled way to play is to capture on d4 for black, and you just take back on d4. And knight e7 is a strange move. I mean, if you're going for this, you're just giving away a pawn for no reason. I can of course straight away take on c5, and the pawns are going to be disconnected anyway if he takes on c5. The other option I have is to just go c3 and wait. So in that case, these are unfamiliar structures to me because I'm not a 1e4 player, frankly, and I'm going to take some time to understand the structure. If I play c3, if I play the move c3 here, it just preserves the pawn structure in the long run, and I really can't see. I don't see why black has decided to block in this bishop, because now he has to play g6, bishop g7, and this bishop is looking at these 4 pawns. So he has to waste one more move with the knight to move to either g6 or c6. Obviously g6 is a more ideal square, or f5, of course. And he's directly putting more pressure on d4. So his idea is to take and then take. After takes, he doesn't have knight takes though. So I'm just going to play bishop d3, simply threatening the knight. And he might kick it with c4, but then I just take. And then these 2 pawns and a pawn on f5 might seem too weak. Here I just take on f5 first, and then take on d4. So now you could argue that I have 2 good central pawns for the weak split pawns that black has, but I'm not really. I think I have a light square weakness because I've given away the bishop pair, especially the light squared bishop, which could prove really crucial in the long run. Well, in this case, it's just knight c3, just starting to ask some questions. And now this bishop is the most crucial piece. If I'm able to exchange it for my knight, I should be fairly in a good position. Knight c6, it's a funny move. I mean, it's okay, it's just developing everything. It's putting some pressure on d4, but so this pawn is the weakest on the board. I'm thinking if I should go g4, takes rook g1. That's obviously a horrible idea now, but eventually is what I would say. Bishop d. So the other option I'm considering is bishop e3, queen d2, triple O. But I have to say that black's position is perfectly fine. So I think I have misplayed the opening already. So I have to create something out of nothing here. And what do I do for that? Maybe queen b3 is some mischief, right? Queen b3, if he plays bishop e6, you just take. This d5 pawn is kind of hard to support. Let's just play queen b3, hitting the d5 pawn with both the pieces. There is no knight on f6. My knight on f3 covers the pawn on d4. This does look like a difficult pawn to save. If you play bishop e6, I'm going to take on b7. So the weakest pawns in the structure are obviously this and this. So he's probably going to play castles and just give away the pawn on d5. And I think I'm a pawn up out of the opening, which is frankly I didn't deserve to be after this start. Because I don't see a way for white to save the d5 pawn, for black to save the d5 pawn, but it took me an embarrassingly long time to understand why what to do in this position. I mean, queen b3 is so obvious now that I look at it, but I mean, the entire point of this play so far here was to destabilize d5, which I did with this bishop d3, bishop takes f5. He had to capture with the e pawn. Since he already committed the c pawn in the Sicilian, he's basically leaving a d5 pawn weak. And I don't like his move knight c6 really. The reason is that, I mean, it's easy to say now, but if you just play bishop e6 here, then when I can't play queen b3 because then he has queen d7, saving everything. Now he's just given away a pawn after queen b3. So the move order here is kind of important. Like if you play bishop e6, queen b3, then you play queen d7 and then knight c6 and you're fine. But now it's like you don't have time because if you play queen d5, I just take on queen d7, I just take on d5. I think I'll take with a knight actually. I just want to get rid of one of the bishops. So it's not a very enviable choice. I think he'll just castle and give away. But yeah, he's just going to give away d5. And I'm going to take. A lot of pressure on d5 though, d4 though. I probably should have taken with the queen, but of course I can take knight takes e7. So I think his idea will be to give a check after bishop d2, knight d2, then to take on d4. I think I might have blundered that. Whereas if I took with a queen, I probably didn't have that problem. So yeah, bishop b4 check looks very good for black now. Oh, bishop b4, I have knight b4. That's probably why he's hesitating. Not probably, it's just dropping a piece, I'm sorry. Yeah, the bishop has nowhere to go. I've exchanged one of the knights for the bishops as I promised I would do. But I don't think I want that. I don't think I want... Oh, I have this sucker punch going for me. But my friend forgot that knight takes e7 is a check. And then there's d5. Very scary stuff. Very scary. I think I just win a piece. Knight takes e7 is a check and then there's d5. I think I just win a piece, no? Yeah, just win a piece. Thank you. Scary. Scary stuff. Yeah. I need to be very careful. I just need to castle as soon as possible. Knight takes e5 is what I expected. The question is, should I take the e6 pawn? Which I will. Actually, I'll take the bishop because I frankly like bishops more than knights. If he takes on f3 with check, I take queen takes f3 and then bishop e3 after. Yeah, just bishop e3 and then I'm just a piece up. Clean piece up. There's nothing to see here. I mean, this game was a bit of a disaster for black. It all started with him playing knight c6 instead of bishop e6, and it took me frankly a embarrassingly long time to find queen b3. Queen e5, he's just going for this pawn. I can give away that pawn, frankly, or I can take on b7, rook b8, queen takes a7, queen takes b2, or just castle, and okay, I can take if he takes on b2, I'm just taking on f5, right? So I'm just getting a pawn for a pawn, and I'm a bishop up, so Yeah, queen takes f5 is just winning. Yeah, he does this, of course. He does this, but all you have to do really is to play rook a b1. No, rook a b1 blunders the pawn. Rook f d1, queen, bishop d4 should be strong enough. I would say rook a d1. I think he might place rook here, but rook takes rook is a check, which my opponent needs to remember, unlike last time. Of course, I can play queen g4 and bishop d4 and just say curtains for black. Hitting g7 and b2 at the same time, but I think this game was a procession, frankly. I mean, it shouldn't have started like this, but as I said, out of the opening, he was just down material, and it took me 10, well over a minute to find queen b3, which is really embarrassing, which I should have found pretty much straight away. Bishop e6 was, I mean, knight d5 was frankly not accurate because I don't know, knight d5 is good. I actually thought he had bishop before check, but then I have knight takes before. That was just blindness from me. But let's say I don't have knight takes before. After bishop before check, I have to play probably knight c3 or something. Then he can take on d4 because both the queen and the knight both hit d4. So I got a bit lucky because he kind of forgot this tactic exists that I take with check, and then I have d5. So yeah, he plays queen e2. I don't see the point of that move. We're stopping queen g4, I guess. I mean, can't I just play this and bishop d4? Yeah, just play queen g5. Don't do anything, just wait. Queen d5. Queen g5, and the point is bishop d4, and then you're starting to ask questions. Ah, I see what he's trying. It's a very sneaky move. I have mate here, but then I can just play h3 or g3. Let's just play g3 so that I have king g2. King g2. Yeah, I have king g2 after that. So he was just trying for a sneaky little back rank mate, but there is no more back rank mate. H6 is fine. I mean, if I play queen g4, of course he's going to take on g4. So let's just keep the queens on the board for now. Let's play queen d5 or something. Queen d5 is a good trick. I mean, I don't see it as a trick, but yeah, sure. Queen d5. Ideally, I'd like the queen to get to d2. So let's just play queen d5, queen d2. Sure, rook a d8 is going to be a bit annoying. Queen b3, I have queen b3, and that just saves. He's probably going to get very excited about rook a d8, but because the queen and the rook would be hitting this rook, but queen b3, yeah, it's just queen b3, and there's nothing. That's all she wrote for black. I mean, I will admit that I've allowed black to get way more active than I should have, probably. But in this case, I can just wait with rook e1 even. I could have just waited with rook e1. Then he would have just played queen takes e1 check, rook takes e1, rook takes queen. So that would have been no good. Yeah, queen b3 is just a perfect defensive move. So in this case, I just need to continue just concentrating. Something doesn't add up to me. Really. Bishop takes a7 probably. Just a free pawn. Bishop takes a7. Queen e8 check. Rook takes e8. Rook takes e8. Rook takes e8. Yeah. There's no combination that works. He's just given away a free pawn for no reason. Yeah, this battery is useless, honestly. Because the king has this escape square on g2 and there's absolutely nothing you can do. Yeah, you can try a perpet, but then there's always queen f3 to guard this diagonal. I mean, it's not even a perpet. Even if I'm just talking about if I don't take the queen, I can still just go king g2 after the first check, even though it's just taking the queen, it's just winning the game. But in case that wasn't the case, I just have complete cover. Yeah, rook c8 is fair enough. Here I just like to put the bishop back on e3. I think he'll go rook c2 after this, so I don't like rook c2, so let's just go rook fc1 and just exchange the pair of rooks. And if he tries to just keep the rooks on the board, then we have rook c2 ourselves, and just kicks the queen out of this square. Yeah, as much, expected as much. Now, the idea is he has rook d2 maybe. But after rook c2, am I blundering anything? Rook c2, queen, check, check, takes. No, I don't like it for some reason. I have queen c2 here. Queen c2, rook c2 is annoying. Of course, we can play bishop e3, covering d2. I completely forgot. Yeah, once that square is covered, he has no counterplay. Yeah, that looks like counterplay, but now the rook's on. Oh, queen takes b5 is a big blunder because of this check. Yeah, that would be like such a disaster. But rook c3, and it's curtains for black. Rook c3 looks like a pretty good move to make, because then I can double my rooks and start getting some action going on the c file. Yeah, this check is actually meaningless. It's actually lost a rook for no reason. Yeah, he's just now lashing out. I mean, just this. Yeah, I mean, he's asking for another game. Let's see what happens here. That was, again, it just took a while for me to find the opening choices, but I did pretty well considering the opening wasn't my favorite opening of choice, and it was just over after 11 moves. So bishop d6, yeah, bishop h4, castles, knight b7. Need to be careful against the London, but let me just. I can just play e5 4 next. Oh, did I just blunder that? Sorry. I blundered that completely for some reason. But it's okay. The c3 pawn is more than enough to make up for lack of positional compensation. That was a terrible blunder. Knight d5, knight d5, pawn d5, bishop d5. No, that's just opening up the position. I think I could play this, right? How do you save both pawns? Probably knight c4 would have been nice to have in this position. Yeah. Knight g4 just gets the pawn back. I mean, I knew what I was doing all along. Although white has this tempo that he can use on this pawn for some reason, I feel like, yeah. Which knight do I take with, guys? Probably this knight, no? And now this pawn looks terribly weak. Then my knight is coming to c4 or f5 or bishop f5 even. I think c4 is not a good move here, honestly. Because if I just take with pawn, or I can just play knight takes bishop, no? Knight takes bishop or bishop f5 first. Let me play bishop f5 first and cause some mischief. After bishop f5, what do you do? Don't you just lose the bishop? Ouch! Oh, probably knight f3. He has knight f3. That was a close call for him. Now we play bishop f3, and he has to take with. If he takes with queen, he loses a bishop, so he has to take with a pawn. But then that underbuilds his pawns, and like then he gets a good pawn structure. So I think the better move would be to torture him with. There's some torture here, of that I'm sure. I'm just not seeing it right now. Probably f5 or h5 or something like that. Or is it d4? Ah, it's d4. Yeah, because if you take, I have queen takes d4 check, and I just win a piece. The f-pawn is very crucial in this regard. If he doesn't take, I just gonna take and then take in here. That's a good way of dealing with it, honestly. So in this case, we just take, and take a pawn. Why did he give a pawn to me? Why did he just give a piece to me, guys? Queen takes d4. Or just, I just move my knight. What happens if I just take with check? And then knight f2, maybe? Knight f2, queen f2, queen f2. Can this knight be saved? Is the big question. Of course I get a pawn with queen takes d4 check. And then I get one more pawn on b2 and another pawn on a2. So all these pawns are falling. The question is, which way should I take them? He thinks he's winning a pawn, but he's not really. Queen takes d4. There's some trick here. Yeah, I mean, he says it's a mistake, but I'm not really sure. Queen takes d4. Ah, there's knight d4. Oh, that was a big mistake. What am I doing? Yeah, queen b6, and then I pick up b2. I can pretend that this is what I was calculating all along, but yeah, he has rook f2. This pawn's not really hanging. Ah, I blundered completely on f7. Ah. Yeah, now it's just black who's white's winning. Because I tried to be too smart. Because I thought knight takes d4. Knight d4, and if he takes yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Frankly, I'm just a pawn down. It's a worse endgame. Let's just deal with it. I think I can go queen a5 and start some trouble with the king. I need to be very careful about my f7 pawn. Yeah, this is the way I get the pawn back. I at least get a pawn back. I don't think that's a great decision from him to move his rook. Sure, he can come to b7, but after he comes to b7, I just play queen takes. Once I activate my rook, it's going to be very difficult for him. This king looks very safe, I have to admit. These endgames are ridiculously hard, obviously. They do make one's life very hard. I'm controlling e7, which I like, but let's just go here with the hope that he'll go rook. Then I can just take on b2. Place b4. Not the worst move in the world, but my intention was to play rook d8 and activate my rook, which has been accomplished, in all honesty. Yeah, he goes after f7. I can actually play f6 and be fine with the position. Let's play g6. Give myself some breathing room. Rook e7 is not really scary. Sure, the f7 pawn looks to be hanging, but after f5, there's really nothing what black has over white. Unless he's going for some queen h4 ideas, which I don't see how. Yeah, I am asking for queen c3 or something. Queen c3 just wins, no? Queen c3 I have queen d4. Oh, then he just he missed the chance to go queen c3 here. Queen c3, queen d4, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, rook takes b7 was completely crushing, and then all these pawns collapse. Yeah, that was terrible from me. I think I need to cover the diagonal queen d4. I need to get to the square somehow. I think he's going to give check. Queen e6 is very, very sneaky. But thankfully, I have g7 square covered. Queen f7 is mate, so obviously he has to go. If he goes queen f7 now, it's not really mate. He's threatening h7, I get it, but have I blundered mate? Yeah. I can't defend both h7 and g7. It's time to resign. That was a terrible game. And we have one more game. Yeah, that I knew f5 was somehow wrong. I shouldn't have played f5. That was terrible. Apologize for the quality of the game, or the lack of quality thereof. At some point, I was definitely completely winning that game. It's very painful because when you know that you were winning, it's just, yeah. But then again, it's online blitz, so he did have a plan. I mean, he could have just gone queen c3 there. That's the one, but this was cleaner. I have to give it to him. This is just a dream position out of the opening for any aspiring player. Just confront white's pawn structure straight away. Point is that there's no c6 after bishop b5 queen a4, I guess. There's knight e5 as well to take away d7 and c6. So standard queen's gambit opening theory, which, to be fair to him, he reads and ignores my entire plot. Bishop c4. Now I'm threatening to take a bunch of times and then go queen b3, which is my favorite move by far. Should I take with the knight, guys? Yeah, I should probably take with the knight and then the bishop. Keeping an eye on both f7 and b7. Knight takes e4. There's definitely something wrong with it. It's too good to be true, frankly. What has he missed is the big question I ask myself. I think he can just castle. Completely ignore. But I need to be careful about this knight. I always have knight takes e7 check, queen takes queen kind of ideas. I've given up a pawn in the opening. I need some initiative. I would say, frankly, that my pieces are well positioned. Pieces are well positioned uh, for the initiative. Bishop d6. I don't know. Knight g5 looks interesting, but of course it's blundering a piece. You can just play rook e1 here. This might, I'd actually rather be, yeah, this is something I think I can use because the queen will entirely be hanging after a point. If I play rook takes knight, he has to take with the rook. There's something definitely off about this entire thing. What about bishop d3 here? Just putting more pressure on the knight. After the knight goes back to f6, I take with check. If queen takes f6, I have rook takes rook. That's what I have to do. I'll open up this position because he has to take with the g pawn now. He's probably going to play knight f6 and think he's fine, unless I've missed something completely. Queen takes f6 is rook takes rook, so yeah, he's going to go knight c5. Bishop h7, king h7 ideas obviously come into mind. Definitely bishop g5 is an idea, right? Bishop g5, rook takes rook, queen takes rook, knight takes d3. That's really sharp. Probably just play bishop c2 or something. Or we can keep it simple with takes, takes. Yeah, I can just keep it simple and I want to keep the knight. I want to keep the bishop on the board because I'm down a pawn. The compensation I have for it is that bishop. This could be a long game because I don't see him completely losing the thread of the position yet. Knight takes c7 will be hanging a lot. He goes knight c6. The idea is knight f5. It does feel like I'm a bit too loose with my position, honestly. I don't like how loose my pieces are. They're not coordinated enough. Obviously, if I'm allowed one more move, I'm just going to put my knight on f5, threatening knight takes e7 check. Knight e7 check, and then bishop takes h7 or something. This is further complication for me. It's threatening mate. Or not mate exactly, but you know what I mean. I need to be more careful about my position. There is bishop f4, which is super tempting to play now after, if he doesn't do anything, if he just tries to develop, it's just bishop f4. Just snap off this bishop and take on c7. Probably knight takes c7, obviously. I'm playing with fire here. But he's actually allowed me a fair bit of freedom that he probably shouldn't have allowed. I think I have queen e2 here, surprisingly enough. Do I have b4 and bishop b3? b4 knight e4 is not possible. Let's just play b4 and get rid of that knight. That knight is super annoying. Probably knight e6 is a good move. I think I need to play a3 to save that pawn. He might go knight e7, bishop b3. I'm going to have an intermediate queen d3 move. Down a pawn, I really don't want to go into any sort of endgame here. a6 is a move I really didn't see. What is the idea after queen d3? If you play g6, I have a ton of moves. Knight f6 starts to come into the picture as a very serious option. Queen c3, just keeping an eye on everything. And rook d1. He has to play probably knight g7 or something. In that case, you play knight e8. Oh, this is delicious. Knight e8. Too strong, yeah? Knight e8. There's queen d4. Oh, there's no queen d4. Knight e8 should win now. This is delicious. Oops, a daisy. Queen f6 is queen takes f6. Queen here is... Aha, queen g7. Nice resource. This is destruction though. The point is you shouldn't let off the pressure. You should just keep coming at black. This is important that you do. And you've given black one tempo to free themselves. And they duly have freed themselves. But have they? This game is like gone beyond super interesting to just outright brilliant. So the next key is not to blunder. Just take back my pawn. Just equalize the game. Just make sure black's pieces are super tied up. The question is whether I can sack the exchange. Well, he's given me a second pawn. That's as good as anything I'm going to get from this game. The last piece to come into the attack will be my bishop, but I need to remember that I need to stay on this diagonal because my rook is hanging. So he's probably going to play some knight move. Ah, knight d4 just wins. Oh no, queen d4, thank goodness. He would really love to play knight d4 here, or get in the way of that diagonal. Of course, I need to just coordinate my rook and queen better. I need to move my rook from that square, honestly. Got the pawn. This I expected. And here I just thought I'd play queen d4. Keep the queen in the oh no, I can't. It's an overloaded piece, honestly. Queen b2 is the only move because my bishop on c2 is hanging. Queen b2. I need to play probably h3 or rook e1. I think rook e1 is a good idea. Just stay calm. Switch to defense. Ah, there's rook f6. This is very interesting. I mean, rook f6, rook f7, and black is completely getting kind of mated, but not really mated. The king is like super uncomfortable. I just need to get my knight into the game. I know this. If I have one tempo, I'm just going to play knight g5 with the idea of knight f7. Ah. In this case, I just play rook f6, which will blunder the rook, so don't do that. Obviously, play bishop d3. If you play bishop d3, the knight moves to a dark square, can't hit a dark square. Let's see where all the knight can move. The knight can move here, the knight can move here, knight can move here, knight can move here, knight can move here. Knight f4 is the most challenging by far. Knight f4 runs into rook f6, just winning a piece. So let's just play bishop e3 and just threaten the knight's existence. Also remember that my queen is completely tied down to the back rank here. I think I need to play rook e1 almost mandatorily here. Just play rook e1, decomplicate the position, or rook e3 even, asking the knight to move again. Is it trapping the knight? Does rook e3 trap the knight, guys? Rook e3, knight b5. So then the back rank is still not solved. But I would rather like the knight on b5 than anywhere else, so yeah, rook e3 maybe. Super careful, but the bishop is just controlling all the squares that the knight can move to. Of course he can play queen, no, queen c5 is thankfully not, queen f6 maybe, to dynamically guard the knight. Might run into some rook e8 ideas, but probably not. It can run into knight e5 for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, queen f6 is annoying. Probably knight b5 is what he'll play, but queen f6 it's a very serious choice I'd look at to defend the knight that way. There is no knight e2, unfortunately for him. He would really love to play knight e2 check, but there's no knight e2 check. This is a very tricky game, I have to admit. Yeah, he just played knight b5 like a normal human being. And here I just play h3 and stop all my back rank issues for good. Or should I get adventurous and play knight g5? Or knight e5? Let's be attacking. Knight e5, knight f7 starts a windmill. Shouldn't I just be playing knight e5 and just winning on the spot? Let's just play knight e5 and see what happens. Obviously it starts a windmill on f7. He has to give up his queen. So he plays rook here, then I have rook f3. I think he's going to play knight c5. But then that's knight f7 check. Obviously if he moves the knight, it's just knight takes g6 on the spot. Rook c7 Rook f3, and I don't see a good defense for black. Queen e8, maybe queen e8. Queen e8, you still play knight f7 check. He has to give up the rook. So yeah, rook c7, rook f3. I haven't hung anything, hopefully. Queen e8, knight f7. Knight f5 is just, yeah. This is just beautiful game. Beautiful game. I think that'll be all.